vinyl group therapy. It's Mazzy here. Vinyl group therapy. 1 hour of vinyl therapy. Norman Maslov is my channel, and I have three co-conspirators. We're going to talk about music every week. It won't always be this time, and everyone's going to introduce themselves, and we're going to just talk about topics. We're not inviting anyone up. This will be live whenever it is. So follow us on Instagram individually. My Instagram is Mazzy's Music. Find me on Instagram. They'll tell their Instagram feeds. Right, for the time being, at least, it'll be broadcast on my channel because I have more eyeballs on it. Some of these people you know, some of them you don't. And we're just going to hang out. There's a lot of kind of these live things going on and people talking about everything else, but we're going to talk about records and gear occasionally sometimes and have highly stimulated, pompous, intellectual conversations of records and music. So I'm going to start with Chris, my buddy from in Washington, D.C., and who had this was his idea initially. And yeah, it's a way influenced by the Four Corners that I've done. And not that that's over, but because of Michael on the road, Balmorey, and Michael in Germany becoming, his house is full of boxes. We don't have time always to do that. So here we go. And Chris will talk about his channel. We'll go around and then we have a couple of topics each week. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Mazzy, Fred, and Wax for being here. I'm Chris. Channels Everything and Nothing. My Instagram is Whole Lotta Wax, HOLE Lotta Wax, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here with you all to have a great conversation with regards to vinyl and gear and all of that good stuff. And yeah, I'll pass it along to Fred.
Hello, everyone. I am Fred Putterman, and my channel is Vinyl Community College. Instagram is the same thing, and we'll post links and all of that later. But yeah, I'm just a record collecting nerd, and we record addict maybe. And
where are you located, Fred?
Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, and I'm yeah, I mean, what else can you say? We're just record nerds. Want to talk about records, but in a more, structured-ish way, right? With topics and things like that. So, anyway, that's me.
Do I get to lay down now and have my head shrunk?
Well, remember, it's always an hour. It's only an hour. So
okay.
Yeah.
I'm Rob the Waxed. My Instagram is the waxed _ the waxed _VC. You don't spell out underscore, it's the underscore. And like everyone else, through basically mostly the last 2 years, like getting into seriously collecting vinyl and recently upgrading my system to enjoy the type of records I'm buying. And I'm here to talk about all that stuff because I love learning about stuff. That's why I came to be part of the VC. So hearing feedback from people is what I love as part of this process. So.
We should just mention, because there are some people that watch that don't understand or don't know what people say VC, VC, VC. VC is the vinyl community. Now, we make our videos hopefully to go beyond people. There's no membership card. There's no, it's a unofficial, just kind of a hang thing that a way to hashtag and relate our videos. And we are a community of people. And of course, we have the educator, Fred, who's actually the one who's actually teaching the youth about vinyl today.
Rob's teaching the youth as well, just at a different.
I'm yelling at the youth. I don't teach.
We're gonna have fun. I think. Okay, Chris is gonna start. Chris, we don't have a lot of concept questions, but and some of them are just. Well, why don't you start? What was your idea for this, and talk about what we're doing today?
Yeah, so my idea was to really just get a few friends together to talk about records, to talk about gear, and maybe even deep dive into some of those things. Today we're, it's our inaugural episode. We're going to be talking about everyone's favorite spin of the week, as well as each of our biggest mistakes while vinyl collecting.
And if someone cries, breaks down in tears, that'd be a success, I think.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Sometimes there's a breakthrough, and
Yeah.
it's not always about your mother. It's not always about your spouse. This is group therapy, but it's not couples therapy. So we're going to take it obviously as it goes. All right.
Yeah, and we'll have a short Q&A at the end for folks that are joining us.
And before we start, I just want to say, if there's anything like the VC, I want to be as far removed from that cesspool as humanly possible. So
Well, there's several layers of the VC.
just
Like a
get me
family.
out of it.
Well, this is becoming snooty already. This is like
No. I've made some
this
good
is like
friends.
PBS. Pretty soon we're going to have Peter, Paul, and Mary concerts with pledge breaks.
Yeah. No, I made good friends on the internet, especially over the last couple of years. But
This half used roll of tape is a premium if we donate.
Exactly.
So what do we want to do first, Chris? Our spins
Yeah,
of the
we
week?
can start with each of our favorite spins of the week. You can tell us the album and maybe a little bit about the artist or the group.
And I think Fred decided to do a little pile, so we might do more than one.
Yeah, I mean, we're only at 6 minutes in. We got
tons of time.
Yeah,
We got time to fill.
And
You want to start, Chris, or what?
I will say this with watching these. Those of you who obviously we have 74 people here, so that's a nice little viewing for our first intro. People love music, and I always say it's about the music first, but they get turned on to different things and take chances from all of us creating videos. So, Fred, why don't you start then?
Oh, me. Okay, yeah, I'll start with. Okay, let me go to my.
I like that.
pile.
We know you're from Texas. Y'all start.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't. Okay, you shouldn't run away from regional vernaculars. With the internet, everything's becoming homogenized, so regional vernacular is good. I guess. Can I pull out? I'll start in my little pile. I listened to these last night. This is from the recent box set, the Craft box set.
We all got that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we all did.
Mine arrived yesterday. I haven't heard it yet.
But I haven't. If I've listened to these, it's been years. I remembered nothing about them. But recently, with the Tome Poet box set, and I also got the Atlantic box set for Coleman's stuff. I've been on a bit of a Coleman kick, and so I knew that this was early stuff. But
I've been on a Coleman kick the last year too with the Coleman collection, but that's a different.
an Arnett Coleman kick. And
why don't you tell people who he is? Because a lot of people might not know. Seriously.
Okay, really? You think? Okay.
Oh God, yes. He's not.
Right.
He's not like Coltrane to or Miles Davis to a lot of people here.
Well, so Arnett Coleman is one of the, I guess, Eddie. Arnett Coleman is one of the architects of free jazz, really. So people get, people throw around a few names, but Arnett Coleman, John Coltrane, Cecil Taylor. I mean, these are kind of like the big dogs of
Eric
free
Dolphy.
jazz. But the we could go on, but. The interesting thing about this is, and maybe if free jazz sounds scary to you, these are interesting listens. So this is when he was at Contemporary. And by the way, he had a horrible time getting people to play with him. I mean, people were not interested in playing with Arnett Coleman because they thought his playing was absurd. But these records are, especially compared to the later Coleman stuff on Atlantic, Blue Note, are very tame because you have Arnett Coleman and Don Cherry, who are a wonderful duo. I mean, they continue to play together for years and years. But you also have these rhythm sections that, it's funny. Arnett Coleman even mentions on the back of the first record, like, hey, I don't know many drummers that can play the way that I want them to. Ed Blackwell can, but he's not on these records. They would later go on to collaborate a lot. But you have these rhythm sections, and actually, there's one with, the first one has a piano, Walter Norris, who I'm pretty unfamiliar with. Walter Norris, it's funny, I actually loved his playing on something else, but he's not able, I don't think the rhythm section is able to sort of grasp what Coleman wanted from them. So the rhythm section stays fairly tame. I mean, they're great players, but they're not playing out of time or free at all. And then you have these compositions by, and these are all Arnett Coleman compositions that Coleman and Cherry are sort of venturing out a little bit, but nothing compared to what he would do later. So because the rhythm section is still tame, they're kind of, and they're tame, but they're excellent players. But it's kind of a sort of, it's more of an interesting document in where Arnett Coleman would go. Very fun and interesting listens. I'm happy I bought this box set. So yeah, that's what I
probably not a place for someone new to jazz to start though, right?
I don't know. Here's my thing about that. But while we're on the,
because remember, not everyone's into jazz, and we have a whole new audience the last 5 years into jazz because of tone poets and those kind of things.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, people who never bought a jazz record are buying jazz, which is amazing, right? They're selling more copies now than they sold when those albums first came out.
I get that. Okay, here's my counter argument. Okay. Is that people somehow get the idea with free, and by the way, this is not free jazz. Like no. It's just not. But people have this idea that you need to like ramp up to free jazz, but more experimental stuff, heavily improvised stuff was always appealing to me. Even when I first got into jazz, I didn't understand what the hell was going on, but I was excited by it. And so in my mind, you just jump in the water and you drown like everyone else. And if that's appealing to you, go for it. I don't know that you need to like go from 1920s stuff up to...
No, I understand that, but I've said many times, my first jazz record pretty much was 1970 Bitches Brew, and I got it, brought it home, because, that was when Miles decided, hey, these white cats are doing this music. I want to sell some music. I mean, in a way, he wanted to be commercial. He wanted to do this rock and roll and stuff, and I got that home, and I didn't get it. I ended up, I can't remember if I returned it or gave the record away. 3 years later, once someone was playing it in this first record store I worked in, it hit me. I got it. And that's from being like 16 years old to 19 years old. And it just hit me in a way that it took a while. And that's not even out there compared to some of Arnett Coleman's work.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own avenue.
But those two albums are very approachable, but you hear the grumblings of where he
what's about to happen.
What's about to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and not just, and but Cherry and Coleman playing together is exceptional. Like no matter where it is, even on these early recordings. But that's my spin of the week. Someone else can show theirs and we'll see where we're at time-wise. So cool. What should I, like popcorn reading? Popcorn, Chris.
All right. So my spin of the week is not jazz at all. It's Michael Kiwanuka, and this is his album Love and Hate.
Is that a new record?
No, this is not a new record. It's a new record to me, but this came out, I want to say, in 2016.
Okay.
This is his second studio album, and he's a UK-based artist, and really good. I mean, it's pretty soulful. I thought that it was like R&B, but upon looking into it, it's actually indie rock, which I really don't know much about. But I highly recommend it as an album for anyone that wants to get into that genre. This is the first album that I have classified as that.
What year did it come out? Did I miss that?
2016.
Okay, so just a few years ago.
His record from 2 years ago, was one of my top records of that year. Was it 2019?
Oh, yeah. That's very good too.
It's got a mix of folk, of indie, of a little bit of soul. It's beautiful
that
stuff.
One is also that one's just called Kiwanuka. Yeah, I have that one as well, and I think Danger Mouse actually produced both of these albums. If y'all are familiar with Danger Mouse and Inflow.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Year? I don't remember.
The second album, well, the last one was 2019, the Kiwanuka. This one's 2016 for Love and Hate.
The last one is really really.
Oh, where's the artist from? Did you say
London.
London based?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Beatle connection with Danger Mouse is he made the Gray album, which was a gray market mashup of Jay-Z's Black album and the Beatles' White album, and you can get it on CD and on vinyl, gray market. It's pretty
Oh
wild,
yeah.
and it's something that I always thought they should have worked something out for the Beatles to issue that, because it's a way to get people who are not from that market crossing over both ways. Going to Jay-Z, going to the Beatles, and it's pretty ingenious. Danger Mouse. He also produced a Nora Jones record, which is quite good.
I'll have
Which
to
is
check
real,
that out. The great album.
really different for a Nora Jones record, and without being too like hip precious to take her away from that piano vocal thing she was doing. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Who's up?
Rob.
Rob, how's it going? If like many people this week, I've been spending my record store day pickups, but I want to go over showing stuff that everyone's showing. The one thing that really stuck out, and this wasn't a record store day record, but one store I went to had 25% off all their used stuff, which is Record Safari here in LA, which is an excellent place. Their stock literally changes every day. And they had this on the wall, this Chico Freeman Analog Productions reissue. I guess this is one of the first ones, because this is from 1994, which I believe is around when Chad Kassem started reissuing stuff. And this thing sounds outstanding. I mean, it even was on their special
The first
label
version, yeah.
Yeah. And I have a lot of analog production stuff. This sounds better than the modern stuff. He was doing stuff great back then. But I've been getting into Chico Freeman. Here's another album of his I picked up, which is an 80s album. You can find his stuff quite affordably. This was $5 in mint condition, I guess, on Contemporary Modern from the 80s. But this is an outstanding album.
Someone wants to know what store, Waxed.
The Record Safari. Type in Record Safari. They're big on Instagram where they'll show, because again, their stock changes daily. They just get such a thing.
He does. He's a DJ too. He just did DJ Coachella for 2 weekends in a row.
Right, but I think there's a documentary about him, because he's like a master at finding collections and cultivating, and I picked up some MoFis for that 25% off, and it's a great store. Every day you could go in there every day and walk out with 10 records. But
do you think that his stuff's more like, I don't see? So you're over there on the West Coast. Like, I don't know how often I see Chico Freeman records.
Well,
and that one's a particularly sought out.
No, his more, I would think. There's a record I want of his just called Chico from the 70s, where half of it is just him playing the saxophone. And I think I don't know enough about to make this statement, but it's just a statement based on what I've listened to and have. I would label him avant-garde more than free jazz, but he does go there.
Can you explain the difference too, when you get a chance, avant-garde versus free jazz for folks?
I'll defer to Fred correcting what I'm saying, but I just think they're doing things at a more heightened, different level before just playing full force free jazz.
I love the concept of different subgenres, but they also drive me crazy, because I think we always try to put these. Remember, these things weren't called what we're calling them now at the time they came out. We had punk, obviously, was punk, but then we have proto-punk, which happened before punk. It's kind of like we never called World War One until we had World War II, and then we had punk and proto-punk and post-punk and free jazz and these subgenres and all these metals. I mean, that's something that I have no idea. These metals and submetals and black metals and southern Uruguayan metals and everything.
I think before maybe labeling what he plays, I think it's great to just seek out Chico Freeman. You decide if he's right for you, what you like. But obviously, like everyone's collecting all the tone poets and the blue notes and all the traditional famous guys. He's the one guy I found that a lot of people don't talk about. Like I was talking about this Chico record. Right now, it's hard to find even a copy under $50. It's very expensive. But a lot of his stuff you can go find in great condition in record stores for $5. But he's one guy I found that isn't, his name's not thrown around by a lot of people.
He did some less adventurous stuff too, though, right? I mean, it wasn't like
both of these are less adventurous.
Yeah.
But, he did some 70s easier stuff.
But like that Arnett Coleman's first record, you can hear he's doing enough avant-garde-ness in at least these two albums to kind of be very interesting to me.
Yeah.
So although I like that I found one guy that his name you don't hear a lot of. So that's why I kind of pulled this out and mentioned it. So
okay. All right, I guess I'm next. I'm going with someone very commercial now who's still bubbling under, which means he just put out a second album. He had an EP during the pandemic that came out, and he started on Sub Pop Records. And this is one of those albums that you buy, that I bought because of the cover. It just jumped out at you on Sub Pop, and that's Orville Peck. Orville Peck is so good. Now, he's the simplest thing I would say country, but country pop, heroic pop. And of course, he has this mystique where he always wears this mask. He's the gay cowboy wearing this leather mask. When this album came out, he did an in-store at Easy Street Records in West Seattle, and I saw him with his band. Tight band, fantastic record. What's interesting about it, this is his debut, and this is probably the more accessible, although the new album that I really want to showcase just came out on Columbia last month, and that's this. It's called Bronco, and I read interviews with him. Look at this. This guy is, I need to.
Yeah, expand yourself.
I need to expand myself, baby. This guy is buff or what? The Gay Cowboy. He grew up in South Africa, but also lived in Canada. He almost quit music during the pandemic, and how I describe this record to people, it's, first of all, look at the photographs. It's just really lovely. 2-record set. It's very heroic. It's a combination of Roy Orbison, Chris Isaak, a lot like Bruce Springsteen from the Western Skies, Western Stars, whatever it's called, later period where it's very theatrical, like Jimmy Webb versions of Glenn Campbell songs, but with a very accessible, very catchy songwriting. He's got this heroic voice. It's lush, but not, I mean, some might think it's overproduced. I would say this is less produced than this in terms of strings and things. He's on a major, coming from Sub Pop, he's not on Columbia Records. I think this is in my top 3 favorite records of this year so far, if you like the genres and the artist I just mentioned, because it's a big record. Again, I keep thinking of, if you've listened to Bruce Springsteen, Western Stars, Western Skies, those 2 records he put out that are very the Southwest, the Great Plains of America. I just think it's really a gorgeous record. And he's someone interesting. Someone mentioned he just played Coachella this weekend. Very theatrical, got a tight country band, pedal steel guitar, and just really great country music with something else thrown in, rock, country rock. But that's too easy to say country rock. Orville Peck on Columbia Records.
I've got one more then. If we're thinking about supporting musicians that are actually alive, that, like currently making music.
Well, Chris and I have lived.
That's so true. But, I mean, we do.
Chico Freeman's still alive. He's like 70.
Is he?
He's 72.
He's just putting around. Look, I think, but I was thinking about y'all's records and I was like, yeah, I think sometimes yeah, people, there's that, there's that ongoing, and I think it's such a bullshit, narrative of like people don't make good music anymore, and I don't think anyone in this group at least has that sort of attitude, but
You just
that
don't
is,
hear it like you did before. Now, obviously my generation, and your generation, was a golden age in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into 90s. But you're right. I mean, you don't hear the hits, not that it has to be a commercial hit in the same way, but you have to dig a little deeper. And everything
yeah,
is so much, you have to dig deeper, and everything is so segmented now than it ever has been.
yeah, dude, that is probably true. If you want to get to the good stuff, you can't just flip on the FM, channels and, but I do have this one that I've been stuck on. I don't have the OB on it but
Oh
this is
God,
on.
that just brought the value down without that OB.
No, I mean it's somewhere. Where is it? It's hiding somewhere in here. But this is I'm gonna butcher the names. Jeremiah Chu and Marta Sophia Honer, recordings from the Åland Islands, and it's this. I mean, I guess you'd throw it into, yeah. Well, you probably put it into ambient from International Anthem from this year, and I bought it sight unseen, and it's so it's 2022, I guess, but it's it's got a sort of new agey vibe, but I don't find it to be overly corny. If you know how some new age music can get it, it's got piano, synth work, field recordings, but it's this very sort of experiential album. You sort of let it wash over you like a nice bath.
Cabernet.
Yes.
I
don't know what that feels
I don't know
like.
the name, but New Sounds and Old Comments. He writes, "There's so much." Again, I always forget. I'm still new at this.
I'll type it.
I didn't want to. I hope I didn't block him. I didn't. No, I don't want to block him. I didn't mean to hide you. Okay, can you put that? Can you put? You can put up the comments.
Already taking viewers away.
Can't you put up the comments here? I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, somebody
You just click them.
Just click it.
You just
Fred, for that title, you have to get it specifically from whatever place you mentioned. Or
Well, no, they have distributors. Like you can find these in a lot of indie stores.
That's the thing. You don't have the few radio stations or the FM stations or the few TV shows, and everything is segmented. And I'm that generation. There's a lot of people, whether you're on the Hoffman forums or not, that keep buying the same friggin' reissues and remasters and audio the same friggin' 25 albums over and over again. I do some of those, but I like to discover new music, and not that I'm into every new genre, every new thing. And Orville Peck, in a way, is very, you could say he's a retro, what's the term? Or, he sounds like a sound that has been around. So it's not a new sound he's created, but it's great music and it's great out there. But you're right. You need friends to turn you on to, or you need to stream. I'm not a streamer. I don't want to say, since I like Santana and I like Calexico, I'm going to like this other thing. And I do want to just show this real quick, this Calexico new album. Again, very Southwestern, brand new album. Love these guys. Heavy Spanish, a lot of Spanish sung on here, with Gabby Moreno, who's from Guatemala, sings on this too. I know it's not my turn, but this conversation's flowing. I think this... It fits in that kind of grand spaghetti Western landscape, but a lot of beautiful Spanish vocals. And there's a great band, if you get a chance to see them live. I think they're in Europe right now, Calexico. They're from Arizona or New Mexico. I'm not sure.
Well, we're so proud of you, Mazzy, for being elderly and still open to new.
Well, I rely on Apple commercials to find out about what.
Right. I was hoping my AARP card, or at least my Medicare card, would get me discounts from Chad Casson. But Chad, can you send me that UHQR? Keep the box and knock $50 off that record. I'll buy it.
Well, one person complains about the box.
I'm into briefs, not boxes.
I complain about the boxes too.
So, should we get into the mistakes section? Because that could get.
Okay, I think we should. We're about halfway through. I think it'd be a good time to segue into it.
Okay.
Cool. I guess I'll start then.
Yeah, you start.
So I was really thinking about this, and I've made a lot of mistakes. I've really only been into collecting vinyl for the last, I want to say, 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years. And I was going back and forth, and I think the biggest mistake that I made at the beginning was trying to get everything. Like they released like new tone port releases, and I'm trying to get them all. Then they're releasing UHQRs. I'm trying to get them all. I'm trying to get all of the MoFi one steps. I'm trying to get all the acoustic sounds Verve series. I'm trying to get all of these, and that led me into then like, okay, well, what did I miss before I got into, and like buying other things and like overpaying for stuff and not realizing that a lot of these things were not out of print, just out of stock. And I honestly ended up with a lot of music that I just didn't care for. And so then that led me down the path of like getting rid of some of that stuff so that I can fund like new things that I really, really enjoyed. So I would just say for folks that are like kind of just getting into it to like tread carefully, like really think about like what it is that you want. And if you stream, maybe take a listen to it before you actually pull the trigger on it. And don't get caught up into the hype because there's a lot of that.
Yeah, that's sort of like actually just I was thinking, some mistakes while collecting. I mean, it's all part of the process, I guess. But
So you think there's no mistake?
There's
well,
Do you have
no,
a regret? Do you regret
no.
something?
So mine's similar to Chris's. When I first started collecting, um, I I started. Well, I was just obsessed with records, right? So I would just go into a store and just bring home as much as I could with no regard to quality, condition of records, whatever. I was just so excited. And if I owned every record that I'd ever bought, my collection would be twice the size that it is now because eventually I had to start purging. I mean, you don't have to. Some people just keep it forever, but for me, I'd rather like every record that I own, I love. And so then I had to start purging all of this stuff that was either in poor condition and I just scooped it up excitedly or that I didn't even really like. Now, it's also exciting to do a blind buy and you come home and it's really good. That's such a great feeling. But also there was stuff that I could have been more discerning, right? and the same with Chris's like getting caught up in the hype stuff. Here's another thing I think, like if you want to, getting caught up in the hype, like I would come home from record store day, which I stopped doing, by the way, but I really don't want to get into that discussion. But I don't do record store day anymore. But when I first started collecting, I would go to record store day and I'd come home with like the C-sides of some obscure album from a band that I had barely listened to. And then I just end up getting rid of it, So I think, yeah, being a little bit more discerning is probably if I could go back. And then also I would say one more thing is new music that's only getting, it depends on, I think you said Orville Peck got signed to Columbia, right? So that'll probably have a wide release. But investing in new music that's coming out is probably, and staying on new artists is probably your best bet because, like, let's be honest, like John Coltrane ballads, this is a nice pressing from, what was it, last year? It's going to get repressed again. This is not the end of John Coltrane.
Those aren't limited pressings. Those aren't limited editions.
Okay, so
and the reason for that, just for people don't understand this is, I know at least it's something else a little bit, is some people don't understand the concept. The tone poets, for instance, and those UMG, what are they called? Impulse,
the Verve
Analog Productions, Verve,
the Verve
series,
sound series, and
those two lines of releases are released by the label, the rights holder.
Right.
Different than ERC, Music Matters Jazz, so many others. They can only buy a license, a limited license. Like, for instance, they can only press a certain amount of copies. They can only press records for a certain time period. They can only press a mono version or a stereo version. Like MoFi, for a while they could only do 45 RPM Dylan records, not 33, because Columbia wanted and Sony wanted to retain that. Things happen, things change. So when people say, well, why don't they just press more records? First of all, aside from the pressing plant delays, they don't have the license. They can't just press money to press money.
Yeah, but new artists like some punk band that you got to see last month in Austin, they might not ever get another pressing. This is my argument here. Or like some weird experimental artists, like that might be that limit. That run of 300 is not manufacturing scarcity, but actually just that they had the money to press 300. And if you don't buy that, it's only gonna get worse for you if you're trying to return to it. Whereas, ballads, like you said, they own the rights. Like it'll keep getting pressed. But regardless,
it might be a year or two. So it just depends
but
on,
you can. Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing, I guess. Now I'm thinking about it, be patient, because there are so many records. Like record companies are aware that some of these big pop titles need to be repressed. Like when I was a kid, I loved this band Block Party. Silent Alarm is this album, and at one point I was thinking about buying it for $120 or something. Well, I just waited a couple years and it got repressed. Same with Distiller's Coral Fang, I can think of several albums that patience has paid off, right? Like some of them do get repressed. Now, like I said, if it's a new artist and they're a very small group and you don't expect it to gain steam, like I would have rather focused on that than the reissues. And it's the same with the Tone Poets. Like one of the big jumps in my collection was when I realized, like, hold on, you don't need. I know people will buy every Tone Poet that comes out, but I don't think it took time to start discerning my own tastes. Right? At first, I was just gobbling everything up, and then over time, it's like, yeah, I don't need every single Tone Poet. I don't want to spend my monthly record budget feeding Universal when there's a ton of small artists that I could support that I'm enjoying as well. Like I'm not going to buy multiple Tone Poets a month, multiple classic series, the Verve series. You can't. I don't have the budget to just be buying everything.
My big exposure to that, a lot of the new music, and is through following bands and artists and people, things I read about for friends, but buying them on Bandcamp, through Bandcamp, because you can listen to things on Bandcamp. You can buy direct once a month, or they have Bandcamp Friday, and on those Fridays when they announce that, the artist gets 100% of the royalties. Bandcamp does not take a cut. So that's really, even though I don't know, we'll see what happens. Isn't Bandcamp the one that got bought out by some big company? So hopefully,
just recently,
yeah. Who knows what happens? But I ordered all my Analog Africa records out of Germany through Bandcamp. I love that line of records from the African countries and South America, and it's just a beautiful curated record. So,
what about Rob's mistake? Or you didn't bring Rob's mistakes?
Come on, Rob. What are your mistakes, Rob?
I have about 300 on the floor over here. I don't believe in mistakes when it comes to this. I believe every opportunity is to learn something, so you gain knowledge and it helps. But with regards to music, you're allowed to stream something and listen to it to see if you like it before you buy it. That's the great thing about carrying a phone around. And that's what I tend to do. I haven't bought like 5 of the last Tone Poets because they're just not, I'm not going to listen to them. They're not really something I want to listen to. So with regards to that, I mean, I wish I got seriously into the hobby a year before I did, because there were so many reissues that I would like now that you can't get really, things I'm getting into. But I think so mistakes. Here's an area I would like to go into: knowing how to buy an album physically, knowing what to look at when you buy it, knowing to move it into the light to see if there are these slight hairline fractures, because you buy something and you go, this looks good, it's VG plus, and you get it home and it has all these hairline fractures in it. So that's an area where I've made mistakes a lot, is buying a copy that is not really that listenable. I can't get over the crackles and pops. And I know people are romantic about that, but that's where I feel like an area I need to improve my buying habits or the way I buy stuff. So I don't know how other people feel about knowing to educate yourself on how physically to buy an album that's used, right?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are commenting on streaming and everything, and I'm not a streamer, although I'll check on YouTube and I'll check on Bandcamp clips of things. I will test the market, and that's a good way for me to get a sense of what the music is. But there's some things I've heard streaming, and I've never been pulled into the music, and then I hear a vinyl copy. Not to be that snooty vinyl guy, because I certainly have CDs, but all of a sudden the music is different. The vinyl version can bring you in like nothing else, right?
I'm gonna say this, okay? I'm here to talk about vinyl. That's my priority when it comes to music. But you live in California, you drive an awful lot. I have Apple Music, that lossless and I have a really good stereo system in my car. I've heard true separation in a soundstage that goes, I'm hearing stuff, and I know it'll be better on vinyl, but that's usually my experience listening to stuff before I decide to buy it on vinyl. So I don't feel like I'm having a bad experience streaming. So, yeah.
Chris, did you?
Two things. One, don't believe Rob.
Don't believe me about what?
He came to DC and we hung out. I will say that he helped me find some incredible albums.
Yeah.
But he suggested this one album that I took home, and it was definitely a mistake. It was only a $2 mistake.
Oh, that was $1.
That's a great album.
It was two.
It's horrible.
It was
horrible.
Only a $2 mistake. It was a mistake. This is a Frisbee.
Pull down the damn comments, Mazzy. You got it sitting there.
You know what I probably said to him? For $2, try it out. It's not a mistake.
You click it again. Now click it again.
Back to streaming. I stream as well. I used to subscribe to Rune in my prior digital system, but my new streamer has its own app, so I don't anymore. But Rune Radio. So Rune has this incredible algorithm. If you use Rune as your digital base for connecting to Tidal or Qobuz or whatever you use, it has an incredible feature called Rune Radio. Whereas if you're playing an album or you finish out a playlist or whatever you have, it starts to suggest other tracks and things based on your listening preferences. And I've found lots of incredible new music from that Rune Radio feature.
So Rob is your biggest mistake in the record.
You know what I was thinking though, as y'all were talking, I've made gear. Now that's like, I know Chris was talking about Rune, so because I have a Rune server as well, but gear is like a whole other rabbit hole with making mistakes and maybe much more costly, I think, because I've made some bad.
Well,
my biggest mistake was buying anything from Shit Audio. But
real name of a company, by the way.
Yeah, that's a real
spelled differently, but let me say my spiel here, because Nicole in the Peanut Gallery, I don't know if you're a boomer, Nicole, but being the boomer, most of my boomer friends, except my friend Coleman, actually is my only boomer friend who didn't make this mistake. 1995, because of my tenure, a decade in the record business, and just as a collector since I was a kid, I had about 6,000 albums. And in 1995, I sold a third of my collection, 2,000 albums. And I initially, most of the ones I sold to Amoeba Records in Berkeley. There was no San Francisco store, no LA store yet. I sold 2,000 records for $2,500. I got cash, right? And people who watch me know that my records are pretty pristine and pretty, and I don't know, because I wasn't into Dead Wax and all that stuff. I had like first pressings of Led Zeppelin, and luckily I kept the Beatles, I kept the Kinks, I kept Dylan, certain artists I kept, but I figured, like with the band, I'm going to sell the first two band albums because those are my favorite. I'm going to go for the better format, which is compact discs. And for 20 years, I was all in. onto compact discs. And most of the people my age sold their collection in the 90s, early 2000s for a song. 20 years after that, so 2005, no, 2000, that would have been 95, 2015. Actually, 2010 is when I jumped back into vinyl. So it's been 12 years now, and I've been buying that collection back. Obviously, and bittersweet, I got a big portion back with the Coleman collection. But that was it. Boomers sold their collections for peanuts. Some sold them because they downsized. They CDs were fine, and of course now streaming. There's a lot of old people that just don't want to deal with their families and what to do with their collections. So that was my biggest regret, selling all the vinyl I sold in 1995. And there's a couple people in the Peanut Gallery that have done the same thing.
I love how the old bastards like you though that kept, because you did keep. You said you sold a third. I think Nicole said
she sold 9,000.
Yeah, but
I kept 4,000 out of 6,000 about.
Yeah, I love the way that people that have kept their collections going from the time they were young can. I mean, and yours is the same way in a sense, Mazzy. But like you can, not in a sense. I mean, it is like you can pull a record and there's a memory stored with that. Like the physical collection works like a sort of memory bank, you know.
That's why I did. That's why the Whack-A-Moles are really special to me in the Memories of a Vinyl Junkie videos that I do, because the music is important, the covers are important, but all those records, especially from the first 20 years of buying records from the 60s, 70s into the 80s, they all have a memory of a thing. So
oh no, elegant eggnog. I sold part of my collection for a Ken Burns VHS box set. Oh, VHS are long.
By the way, if any of you bought your records from Amoeba in the 90s, it will say Mazzy loves you on the inner sleeve. Can you return it to him?
Yeah, all of your records are out there in the world now. But
I'm sure I had RL. I'm sure I had a pristine RL Led Zeppelin that someone has out there right now.
I've been thinking about this lately too, though, is the difference in you buying a child. It depends on the record, right? But you buying, let's say you sold a record that held a memory for you, right? And you want to rebuy it. There's a chance that it's been pressed quite often. With millennials, all of our nostalgic teen records from the MySpace days and stuff, their first thing was a CD, right? They might not have ever been pressed on vinyl. And when they do get pressed on vinyl, the prices skyrocket. So like the other day, I got in, I've been thinking about this because the last few orders I've placed actually have had kind of nostalgic records in them that hold memories for me, but I'm not racing to go and put them on. Like I just got in a Slipknot record. When I was 15, I loved Slipknot, I think I got it, cleaned it, and shelved it. Like I didn't even, I haven't really played it because it marks a memory for me. But that record in particular, I sold that for like $250 about 6 months ago. Now I just rebought it. Speaking of patience, I just rebought it for $20. So that's fine. But a lot of the nostalgic stuff or childhood stuff for me is on CD. And if you want it on vinyl to represent that memory, or maybe you're just still into the same music, it gets pretty pricey at times.
Can I piggyback on what Fred just said? Sort of.
Piggyback.
My attitude towards buying vinyl for stuff I want is I go into a record store with no list. I feel if you're meant to find something, that's the excitement of still collecting, is you find it. Because case in point, this record here, I bought a recent issue of it. Crap. It even came out of the sleeve with scratches on it. Pressed in some dungeon somewhere. I don't know where. But the next day I went out into a garage sales, estate sale, and found this OG copy that sounds beautiful. And paid less than what I paid for the new copy. So I always feel you're meant to find something. That's my.
I want to respond to Mark Lastman because you have an 11-year-old son. I love those kind of stories. So I want you to remember, start registering so his aunts and uncles, instead of Israel bonds and
Uh,
all
buying
the
a
shit,
tree.
buying a tree in Israel, have them get certificates for records for his bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
His bar mitzvah, records. Records are your best entertainment value, and of course, maybe get him a nice Riga P10 P3 turntable from Uncle Shlomo. Okay.
No, I like Mark's comment as well. My son is only 2, but I take him to the record store with me sometimes as well. And the last time we went, I got him his first record. So
Ooh, Pixar.
yeah, he loves this movie. So
Yeah, okay, here's the sad thing about we're just so Maddox, my son, is 4 now. When he was 2, he loved free jazz. He would dance around, no concern for 4/4 rhythm. Now he's been brainwashed by all of the, the pop hits on like the shows he watches and stuff. So he's more of a melodic, 4/4 guy now. Maybe he'll, as time goes on, he'll change.
Did he have the ABBA's greatest hits yet? Did he in ABBA?
He doesn't have ABBA's greatest hits. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. We have about 9 minutes left in this session, so let's kind of talk about the music and then see what Chris wants us to work on for next week, whenever that is. Please do follow. There will be links below to all the channels here once this is live. Give us a few minutes. This will stay up beyond the living segment here, and everyone's got Instagram. I don't know if I can link those. If you guys send me emails with all your Instagrams, I'll link those as well. And we'll post when this is going to be. It's not always going to be the same time, at least for now. So, and again,
we'll
as I wrote in the comments, we don't take insurance. This is group therapy, but any questions and comments and suggestions are welcome.
Oh, you want to open it up to Q&A now?
Yeah, we can open it up to Q&A for sure.
Okay. Ooh, I'm scared.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Let's see. Sometimes our comments, like, totally agree. It's not the thrill of the hunt for me. It's the thrill of the surprise catch.
Yeah, man. I was talking to Stunty last night. Like, some of those nostalgic albums that I'm not too stoked to throw down money on, I'm much more prone to buy them if I just come across them in the wild, because it's, 1, cheaper, don't have to pay for shipping. 2, if you buy a bulk, you get a little discount and cash at a lot of record stores. So, but unfortunately, I'm in a place where I don't have a good record store near me at all.
Yes, you do.
It's bad, Rob. You've never been there.
Well, I literally buy from the record store in Fred's town.
What's it called?
Nope, don't say what it's called.
What?
I don't want people knowing where I'm at. Texas.
We don't want.
Enough.
Oh, what? You're gonna find your address?
It's called
Google
Fred's
Maps.
not allowed to shop here.
Yeah, I've been banned because I questioned their pricing model.
We got a question in the. I think Mark has a good one here. See that? There we go.
No, I mean, look, Mark, you would know. Mark's, by the way, I guess if people are watching, Mark's in the mental health field, but I don't know what about y'all? I've always collected.
That's been
stuff.
Successful since the Reagan years.
That's why
since I was a kid, I had Pokemon cards, Hot Wheels, rocks.
Give me the love that you didn't give me, Dad.
Did you ever see the film Joker, Mark? Jesus Christ.
Well, I thought this was good though, because I've always collected stuff too, and I've always like gone crazy when collecting things. But I think for sure, not to go dark on this, but in 2020, I know everyone was going through a lot of things with COVID and being in the house and losing loved ones. I definitely splurge a lot more on collecting vinyl than I normally would have. So
right. Yeah. I'll do a quick answer. Anyone into? I'm not really into a lot. I am into Brinsley Schwarz, and that whole Brinsley Schwarz is an English pub band that begat people like Nick Lowe and Dave Edmunds, right? Was Dave
Yeah,
Edmunds,
Dave Evans. They were all
you know,
rock
and
wild.
so I have several Brinsley Schwartz records. They had a failed American tour, I think, where their equipment was stolen. The whole story there, but they created some great obviously artists from that thing. But I don't know a lot a deep dig into British pub bands.
Did you collect stuff forever, Mazzy?
What do you mean collect stuff? Like
Anything?
I've been buying Well, my story's been told many times. Back in 1900, the Beatles came out. I was playing Little League, literally on one day, Saturday, Sunday night. I see the Ed Sullivan Show, and I hear "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and all of a sudden, I wanted to play music. I wanted to listen to music. It literally changed overnight. And I went through this generation. I remember during the 60s, even as a kid, even though I'd go to maybe Giants baseball games, I always thought if you were into music, you couldn't be into sports. That was like two different worlds. I didn't get, until later, all that Huey Lewis and to sing it for the Giants games and stuff. I didn't get that. But I've been into music all the time. I've been obsessed. I always wanted to work in a record store. Worked in the record business for about 10 years. And I never, ever stopped buying music and
But
listening
did you
to
buy
music.
Beanie Babies?
No, I never collected anything else aside from Beatle books and things related to music. I was never, I was a rock collector in grammar school, like, rocks and gems.
Yeah, me too.
That kind of, but it was always music. I mean, the format didn't matter except vinyl was the thing. I didn't, I bought some cassettes. Actually, I didn't buy cassettes, but when I worked in the store, I could check them out for road trips. So I'd take them from the store, play them on the road trip, return them to the store when I got back. So I never was a cassette buyer. But yes, all kinds of music. Never ended. It still hasn't ended. And I'm 67 years old. Oh, God.
Wait, what about
the Laws? You know the Laws? We got 4 minutes to go in our first session here, so maybe we should wind this up. The Laws, you know the Laws?
Never heard of them.
There's the song "There She Goes."
There She Goes.
Didn't they? Okay.
There she goes.
Exactly. It's very catchy. It's been used in every other movie, romantic rom-com movie. Let's see. It would be fun to discuss. I don't want to discuss it here, but this bullshit thing of T-Bone Burnett and Bob Dylan doing this new format thing. It's basically like NFT. So one person can own their own Bob Dylan song like an NFT that no one else can listen to in a superior format that no one even knows existed and can't even play it. So that's something for maybe next week.
I haven't looked into that, but yeah, that might be.
I saw that, and all the comments were like, "No newly recorded Bob Dylan record sounds good."
I love the recent Bob Dylan stuff, especially his last album. But that's a whole other discussion. We'll come up with some other topics next week. And anything else to close, you guys?
No, I think that's it, man. Thank you all for joining us and hanging out. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to hanging out again soon.
Yeah, for the time being, it'll be on my channel. Watch when it'll be on. We got 2 minutes to go, so we can just close out. Again, we don't take insurance, so you can PayPal. We're not doing Patreons. This is free shit. There might be a commercial at the beginning, at the end. There won't be commercials in the middle of this thing, so don't worry about that. If you want to do a replay of this, if you came in late, so. Chris?
Yeah, it was fun. Went well.
Fred? Rob?
Yeah, end it.
End it.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Mazzy just left the stream, and the stream's well, until Mazzy comes back, I guess we could chat.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about this. I mean, what new format could they possibly be bringing to the table? This doesn't even make sense.
What do you mean, what new format?
This whole thing with the Bob Dylan and...
Oh, it's nonsense.
Anything that mirrors NFTs, I'm uninterested in.
Yeah, did you see the sale of there was the Twitter, the first tweet ever that sold for millions or something like that? And did you see he tried to resell it?
It was like $200. Yeah, it was like thought it'd be valued at like 2 million. But also,
Yeah.
while we're talking about music, like the beauty of this, I mean, even just us like coming together and talking bullshitting and talking about records, is that like this is a communal thing in a way,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so like making it mirroring this ownership model. I mean, I know we're buying physical media, right, and we own these records, but I just, if it's NFTs for music, I am uninterested. In fact, I'm only interested in it as a model for me being disgusted. But someone text Mazzy and tell him to get his ass back up.
I just did.
You did? Okay, perfect. Hey,
He
Ron,
needs to
yeah,
end
so
it, and then we can talk about.
That Miles Davis is actually very good. That's not
Yeah,
it.
I have it right here. Oh, morning.
Yes, it's very, very good. You should open it. He says he's still got it sealed. You should open it up and check it out.
One person doesn't like this and this.
Oh,
and this.
well, when I redid my shelves in my my room, I originally had the boxes kind of out next to each one of the albums, but it just takes up so much space, and so I just put the boxes back in storage because it's just kind of pointless, especially with the UHQRs coming with a gatefold. It's really nice.
Hey, John says he's going to Record Safari. Yeah, I probably might go next week sometime, but you'll have a good time there. I mean, always check out their Instagram feed.
Hey, I won a poetry award.
Oh, congratulations!
Awesome. Where's Mazzy? Damn it!
He said he.
Someone call him. I know he can pick up the phone.
Yeah, he right now Mazzy's VCR is flashing 12. He doesn't understand that the stream is still going.
Yeah, this was great, guys.
I think he heard a beep and it was from his medical alert bracelet. But
yeah, no, I think it went well. I'd like to keep doing it,
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple of ideas for topics coming up, so I'll text the group and we can figure out what the next one.
Well, we need to get him back so we can end this, so that it's.
Yeah, I just texted him and told him that he has to come back in and end it for everyone.
Call him.
Yeah, I think he's in he's